All right, in the first 3 months of 2023, more than 300 bills aimed at limiting the rights of transgender Americans have been introduced in state houses across the country. Now, before the break, I mentioned one bill that was introduced this week in Florida that could qualify gender as child abuse. For more on this, I'm joined by the Emmy and Peabody Award-winning journalist Imara Jones. She's the founder of Translash Media, the chair of the Transgender Law Center, and the host of Translash podcasts. Imara, my friend, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Most people in this country don't have to experience gender-affirming care. They don't really know what it means. Most people, I think, in good faith, would not think that it's child abuse or akin to kidnapping or violence against a child. What exactly are we talking about here in this Florida bill?
I mean, what we're talking about is the predicate to separate parents from their children. We've seen this road tested in Florida last year with an executive order from Governor Abbott, which has resulted in thousands of people in that state's child welfare agency resigning rather than enforce this particular executive order. And so now we see it in the law. And it's not a surprise because usually where we see one action work when it comes to anti-trans and other Christian nationalist legislation, it becomes the model for things to happen across the country. So Texas wasn't the first. Florida won't be the last.
Let's talk about a tweet that we saw from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who said, "Today I took executive action to protect access to gender-affirming health care in Minnesota. My message is clear. Here in Minnesota, our LGBTQ plus neighbors will not be denied or punished for seeking life-affirming and life-saving medical care." Is there enough of this going on to offset the other stuff? Because the number of anti-trans bills, as we mentioned, more than 300, we're in March of this year, and more than 300. How do we keep up with this?
There is no offset for this. If in one place a child is separated from their parents, there is no repair for that. So I would say that the answer is no. This is not an equation. You know, these are human beings and these are people and these are lives. And I think that what we're seeing across the board right now is a road test for authoritarianism in the United States. How can you sort of separate, demonize, stigmatize an entire group of people in order to build the type of society that religious zealots want? And they're trying this. And eerily, what I get confused by is why people don't see that that's what's happening, don't understand that in some ways that this is a prototype, just like the early 1930s were in Germany. I'm not saying that this is an equivalent period in terms of what is ultimately going on.
But they did road test everything in 1930s Germany, right? They went after trans and gay people first, and they tried that out, and society was like, well, I don't really understand them, and it doesn't really matter to me.
That's exactly right. And the same thing is happening here. And why this isn't seen is actually something that's deeply alarming to me. And so I'm glad we're talking about it this morning.
I am concerned, though, because when you talk about religious zealots, they're also the ones who say parents should have decision-making ability about what their kids read and what they learn and what they do and what they don't do. So now if we're talking about parents who are giving their kids gender-affirming care, that's not actually something we want parents to be able to do.
Well, religious zealotry doesn't seem to be mutually exclusive to hypocrisy. And so I think that, you know, it is very much that they think that what they say goes because they have God on their side, and everyone else just has to live with it. But that's not the type of society that we're supposed to have in the modern world. And that's not the society, if they actually read the Constitution, that they say that they adhere to, which specifies that. And so we're in a really dangerous period, Ali. I think that these bills are becoming much more aggressive, and they are going to go as far as they possibly can. And all of this underscores the fact that, anti-trans laws and anti-trans ideology is not a plank of the Republican Party. It is a pillar of the modern Republican Party.
You know, the courts in this country have generally held that kids should not be separated from their parents. In fact, some observers say, well, it feels like that kid should be separated from their parents. But courts generally say no. Even if you're not that good a parent, the courts generally do this. Will these many bills, many of which or some of which may finally get to the Supreme Court, does that hold up? Because we as a society believe, generally speaking, with very few exceptions, parents are the ones who should bring up their children.
In most of the modern American era, I would say that you were right. that once these laws got to the Supreme Court, that they would, bounce right back like a tennis ball off a wall. I don't think that we're in that period anymore. And I think that we have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. And given the current composition of the court, they seem to be able to find ways to make things stand that should not stand. And so I wouldn't bet that this won't stand up when it goes to the Supreme Court.
Imara, thank you. I appreciate it. I always appreciate you and the time you take to be with us. Imara Jones is an Emmy and Peabody award-winning journalist, the founder of Translash Media and the host of the Translash podcast.